History of the tomato, the wolf peach, the golden apple, the love apple, the poison apple. These are the names that people in Europe all the way up to the 1800s gave to the humble tomato. Why, you might ask? Because they were absolutely freaking terrified of them, that's why. Tomatoes were first cultivated in Mesoamerica by the Aztecs before Europeans first started growing them in the early 16th century. In 1544, an Italian herbalist, Pietro Andrea Mattioli, classified the tomato as being related to deadly nightshade and mandrake. Things went downhill from there. Nightshade is a deadly poison, and mandrake was thought to be an aphrodisiac, which, putting it all together, led people to believe the tomato was both poisonous and downright evil. From there, it became associated with witchcraft, and even with turning people into werewolves. That last part came about after Louis XIV's botanist, Joseph Pétain de Tournefort, gave the tomato plant the scientific name Lycopersicon, which translates to wolf peach. The belief that tomatoes were dangerous got a further boost after some rich aristocrats got sick after eating them. This was not actually the poor tomatoes' fault, though. Not directly, at least. It was because these aristocrats would eat their tomatoes off pewter plates. The acid from the tomatoes leached lead off the plates, which ended up poisoning whoever consumed them. After that, people remained scared out of their wits about tomatoes. George Washington grew tomatoes in his garden, although he never ate them for fear of being poisoned. Thomas Jefferson was a little more bold, and actually did partake in the satanic fruit. And he died in 1826 at age 83. Coincidence? You be the judge. There is one story of dubious origin about a noted statesman and horticulturist from Salem, New Jersey, named Robert Gibbon Johnson, who decided to take matters into his own hands and prove that tomatoes were safe for human consumption after all. According to the legend, one day in 1820, Johnson stood on the steps of the Salem County Courthouse and proceeded to wow a crowd by eating his way through a bushel of tomatoes. It was right around that same time when tomato recipes began to appear in local periodicals and newspapers. But by the 1830s, a new fear was forming as crops became infested with a tiny green worm known as the tomato hornworm. It was commonly believed that the slightest touch of one of these worms would result in instant death. Over the next few decades, public fears about tomatoes faded. Today, about 180 million tons of tomatoes are grown and consumed annually. One of the inventors who figured out that tomatoes could be big business was Joseph A. Campbell, who in 1897 figured out you could turn tomatoes into soup and can them. And the rest, as they say, is